Hi guys, we're going live early because I want to get this done, and I am also doing this as a restream, especially because I don't know what happened. Maybe I did episodes or DVD summaries 5 and 6 together, so the live one after the other. The second one, like most of it was blank, so I skipped that bit. And what I'm going to do instead is go through it again and hopefully all the video records, and then we can go through the summary. So let's share the screen of what we're going to talk about. And we're ready. Audio is good, so I'll get rid of this guy. This was my favorite DVD, so I really want to get this one right. It helped me with so many things, especially the boundary part. Once I figured this boundary part and the ability to say no, wow. I mean, just the thing about saying no is such a big thing. So let's get into it. First of all, there's so many different definitions of boundaries, and David DeAngelo talked about how the prince is a good recommendation to learn about politics because in this example, he was like, if you want to do some dirty work, you hire a henchman to do the dirty work, and then that way things don't come back to you. And if you need to, you get rid of the henchman also. So that was his bit on that politics side of things. Good politics is always win-win deals, and you decide what doors to open using this. And we've talked about boundaries and doors. Hopefully, we'll get more deeper into this one. So my in-depth summary is that link above. Yep. Groups. Now, group boundaries. When you come into a group, the group, a company or something has their own boundary, and it's if that group has lasted long, that means it's got strong and mature boundaries. Otherwise, the company would not last long. The company will have a leader with the biggest boundary and usually the most resources. So that's the red bit there. And everyone will have their own different resources. You have other employees who relate to each other and the leader. So some people directly to the employer will go to the employees. There's different ways, difference between employees and not other leaders, and you know how the big corporate lives companies work. Now an innovator is someone in the company that has a lot of intellectual resources and comes up with original ideas and values that are not too far from the boundary, which helps expand the boundary. And we've talked about this before, where this is the boundary. You want to stretch slowly, you don't want to go too far, because someone has an idea or value that is way out of the boundary, and someone they might manage to drag some people out into that bit, and that becomes a cult. More than likely, it will not last long because they don't have enough support and resources. Next, we get to is ethics, making lots and lots of decisions and using your observing ego. See that eye there, which is looking into that boundary, will help you correct yourself and build good ethics. Learning to say no, I'm telling you, just figure this one out. If you don't know how to say no, figure this one out. My techniques, which I've talked about in a few videos already, is replying with, I'll get back to you on this. Let me think about this because it seems like an important topic that I would need to take some time to consider. Another one would be I need to consult my family, or depending on whatever situation you are, find certain words if you don't want to say a direct no. Dr. Paul talks about how an attractive woman was flirting with him to write a prescription, which was not doing the right thing, so he refused. It's okay to beat yourself up and not doing the right for not doing the right thing, but then you decide to do the right thing, which is where the observing ego comes in. In this case, we've talked about ethics, internal sense of destructiveness versus constructiveness. I want to say DVD 3, which we've talked about. He's talked about choices, making destructive or constructive choices is much better than doing nothing, because that arrow goes down and that arrow takes you into self pity and stuff like that. If you hurt people and they give you feedback, you would put that into your conscience to inform you of bad decisions. The sophistication of your conscience is going to help the maturity of your boundary. And that way you will know which doors to open, when to open them, how to open them. uh, if you want to connect other boundaries with that door. If you have low conscience, you want to be able to use your observing ego to see when you hurt people or make bad decisions. And what did I say last time? I was like, I look for these kind of opportunities, especially when someone tells me, because then I get surgical. I'll write things down. I'll be like, which part were they right about? Which parts did they exaggerate or they were not fully right about? Take the bits which were right and then be like, how can I change them? Oh, and before that, the step before that would be, how much do I value this person? How important this person is in my life? Is it family member? Is it a loved one? Is it someone superior to you who makes decisions about your future? Stuff like that. And then you tweak your choices and moves accordingly. This in turn will help you raise your consciousness to know when you're going to make bad decisions. So once you've done this a few times, you'll be like, oh, you know what? This has happened before. And if I do this, that's going to be a bad decision. So I know either try something different or I know what the right thing to do now is. If you don't know, then try something different, which will also help you close the door on yourself. And that's another big one, saying no to yourself. Do I need that extra cookie? No. Uh, Knowing that you're tempted to do the wrong thing, but you prevent yourself from doing it. And that also comes into self parenting and reparenting. And you can find that in my blog somewhere. Next one, forgiveness. I've done a very separate and special talk on this one. So, difficulty in forgiving yourself has to do with living in the past and having strong emotions about it. Suffering is burning energy on things that you don't control. What you control, remember, is in your boundary. What is outside your boundary, you don't control. You either choose to accept it, you either choose to close the door or tackle it in different ways. When we shame ourselves excessively for too long, it's pathological grief, usually more than 6 months. I still looking for this 6 months thing because Jordan Peterson has talked about it. I've asked ChatGPT if any psychology person or someone who knows about this 6 month thing, you know where it comes from, please let me know because I do things in 6 months, especially like big issues, forgiving people, or when I do affirmation, I wait 6 months for it to work and stuff like that. Uh, Present guilt helps us as our observing eye to improve ourselves. So when you feel that guilt, you feel that pinch. You're just like, yeah, yeah, I need that as my observing eye to improve myself. And looks like we'll talk more about this circle with so this spectrum. He's done two spectras crossed. One is education and experience. The other one is conscience and intuition. Intention consists of various factors. We need education to help our sights on the goals. So you guys are seeing education on one side, which is book smarts, left brain stuff, while experience is right brain stuff, street smarts, stuff like that. So once you mix those two, you get to wisdom. I don't think he talks about it, but one of those philosophers has talked about it. We need our street smarts or experience to make us flexible enough to get around obstacles. We need our intuition, which is on top there, to read the best options to choose. And we need our conscience, the ethics, to have an honorable goal. So you want to be as close to center as possible. If you feel like you're on education, uh, my thing was, I call it my juggernaut phase. I know I'm a thinker. I'm very much into the education side of things. I'll study the hell out of stuff. So I knew at some point I had to start moving my season. So I would have the winter season to educate, summer season to experience. So learn everything, put it into practice. Learn everything, put it into practice. You can find some kind of thing for yourself like that. Imagine your intuition is way up there. The original meaning of sin is to miss the mark. I think it's Aramaic or Hebrew. So when you sin, people make it out to be this really bad thing, but it's just missing the mark. So if your conscience is lacking, you would miss the mark of having Mr. Mark, of having a just and noble cause. Yeah. In this case, be able to forgive yourself and change what you choose, change your choices. Now, wussy. David DeAngelo likes using this word. Dr. Paul Dobransky in these DVDs didn't like using it, so he would, I think he called it the word or just the W. And in this case, he's talking about you are burning a lot of fuel when you're being a wussy, lacking well defined identity. And it's for guys who need a mummy or daddy, so they're not mature. Your internal age doesn't match your psychological age. That's my note there. Osho also talks about this, where we usually get stuck around 17 years, or if we don't work to mature, or something along those lines. So he was like, if you notice all your friends and stuff when you get together, especially music, when it comes to music, because I'll be like, what music do you like? They'll tell me a big thing about you. And myself, a lot of my friends, we are still stuck in from high school to uni, those times, because those were the best memories, and that's where we liked staying. Some people stay there and don't work on themselves, end up in lots of situations they would rather not be in, and then play victim, which is not good. Next, decision. So you have your three bars there. One's for decision, one spectrum is decision, another spectrum is intellect, another spectrum is emotional energy. First spectrum, decision, it has conscience and intuition on the scale, and a lot of conscience will be top heavy or super ego. I still don't get some of these words or meanings he put, so let's try and break it down. Meaning too much ethics and not much shrewdness. Someone who's like a goody two shoes, or they don't have that street smarts, or sometimes you need to play crafty and stuff like that. I used to be that. I used to be very righteous, or not righteous, just basically mama's boy. A wussy would be someone with a lot of holes in the boundaries. Yes, that was me. Since the wuss will not have a good decision making resource, I did not have resources. I was just playing blind. I was like just going with the flow. All I wanted to do was party, rap, sing. They will like to have a partner who comes in and makes the decisions. Yes. Actually, I still kind of do, I guess. But I worked on myself enough to not be that mama's boy. Like I really broke apart from that character. Intellect. That's our second spectrum there. Someone with less experience and more education would be more of a wuss. So again, you want that experience. You want to go out there in the world and get that action in there. You can say, yes, I did that, I did that, I did that. Over like 2004 onwards, all I've been doing is checking off. I wanted to do this, I've done it, done it, done it, done it. So get out there and do that. Emotional energy, the last spectrum. The wuss would be more on the well-being side, which is the mama side. I don't know if I've talked about it in the previous one, or we're going to talk about it in this one. Um, and more nurturers, then they would be on the courage side. A boy wanting mummy. Yeah, see, you need him in a way. A boy wanting mummy to need him in a way. So it's codependence between the mama's boy and the doting mother. And that's where I was. I loved my mom. That was my main pillar. Please note that this is not a bad thing, as everyone has been through this point in life. Those who don't spend much time with the observing ego, or never learn how to develop it, will usually not mature. And we're all in the game of growing and maturing. Individuation, yes. So this is basically just my story after I got out of the situation I was in, moved to UK, and individuated, if that's a word. Uh, Remember the previous exercise. Do you know I'm dyslexic? Just, just so you know, I'm doing my best to read. And I've got this text pretty big here. Remember the previous exercise on looking at your baby picture. So if you don't want to go to that video, Dr. Paul is like, find the youngest picture of yourself that you can, and basically try and find a word, put a word to it. What do you see in that baby? Who do you see in there? Do you see his story was that he saw curiosity or something, and the story was he wanted to be a Egyptian archaeologist or something because he wanted to uncover treasures and stuff like that. His dad shut him down, and then he said he still ended up doing that because he's a psychotherapist, psychology guy. So he's still uncovering treasures from the past, but this is in other people now. Uh, so that's a good place to start. Try and figure out your inner child and talk to it. Oh, just 2 days back, I've just finished a really nice video. It's going to be released in 2 months about your inner child, your vulnerable child, your angry child, all this, and how you use your fight, flight, and freeze um, coping strategies. So please keep an eye on that. The more personal, the more universal. The more you see flaws or good in others, the more you see it in you. Let's correct some English there. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I love using this line where whenever someone's complaining about something or it's like, that one's ugly. And I'm like, yeah, ugly is in the eye of the beholder. You know, every now and then I like fighting with people on the internet. So I have to step back. And that's where you're using the observing ego. So yeah, parents are the boundary there. And as a child grows, they grow up in the parents' boundary. Hopefully, our parents have filled us with good stuff and told us no a lot. And the child learns to say no back. This is also important. Both sides need to learn. Oh, my son just loves saying no. Recently, he's changed, but there was a phase. Everything was no. Even if it wasn't a yes or no answer, it's like, what did you eat? No. Okay. As a child grows up in the parents' boundary, oh yeah, I've read that bit. Later in the teens, we start budding off and individuating. Our boundaries are still weak outside, and we start forming deals with different kinds of peer groups. So you see there, you have different peer groups. You're connecting, still connecting with your parents. The other one you're connecting back and forth. The other one you've come out, and we look to try and fit the groups that feel like they match our ideals and vision. So your vibe and your tribe, you know that saying. This feeds our boundary and helps us form an identity to be independent of our parents. Hopefully, you find you've picked some good company and you've got some good ideals and visions. Finally, being separate and distinct, even though we are related and connected to different groups and politics. An example would be France being an individual country and its own distinction while still being part of the EU and also being part of the world community. So, you know how it works. Lots of boundaries, lots of doors, and in this case, lots of connecting boundaries because they make deals. So that door would be open, closed, depending one way, this way. Gets lots of fun. What is this video? Oh, introduction to Richard, aka Billy. So in this full video, he talks about emotional resilience. Let's get down to it. Full post is here, but I'll summarize it further below. Da, 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 da. Yep, see that link if you want. You can change your whole physiology with the power of the mind. He was talking about a few cases where this guy's hair just turned white in one day, just lots of things. That's a bit too far for me, even though I believe in it. Uh, I think you still need to work like you're not that powerful. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. So just keep that in mind. You are not who you think you are. You are not who others think you are, and you are who you make yourself. So start architecting yourself. Product placement there for a bit. Start using affirmations to change what you want and who you want to be. I'm I I don't use them as much these days unless I really want to work on something, but I really like affirmations because Think of it this way: politicians, certain countries will tell you, you have your freedom, you have your, even if you don't have your freedom, just the fact that you're constantly repeating it. Oh, what have I done there? I hope I'm not messing anything up there. Paras, don't do this. Guys, can you see me? Can you see me? Everything's fine? Okay. Don't mess this one up. Repeating the story constantly, even if it's a lie, repeating a lie constantly still feeds it to you, and then you start feeling right. So it's kind of like faking till you make it, but at the same time, the affirmation, the way it's framed, um, the way you have to say it, you have to say it in the present tense. You don't have to use negative words, so you don't say I've stopped smoking. I am. Uh, what's a good example? I don't eat after 7. Instead of I don't eat after 7, I brush my teeth uh, at 7, and after that, how would you put it? Look, just look it up, because you don't. You put it in present tense. You give it a time limit. You do something else. No negative words, stuff like that. Please do some research. I'll try and link something if someone asks me to do so, but otherwise, it's all out there. Talk about talks about the importance of Milton H. Erickson and his hypnosis NLP techniques. I also did a lot of NLP for myself, because there's some traumatic events I needed to sort out, and NLP is such a big help. I think I've already done a talk on that with Mind Lines, or it might be coming out in 3 weeks. But you can use different things. You can use visuals, where you have a frame there, you talk to someone, or you see the whole video there, and you're like, okay, this is the video I didn't like. Now I'm going to make it fuzzy. I'm going to make it black and white. I'm going to make the perpetrator sound like a squeaky voice, stuff like that. I've turned my perpetrator into from a burly strong man into a crying babyish person in a woman's black costume with a bucket and spade on the beach, just looking up at me and crying. So and I ended up taking care of this person. So it it really helped. That was one technique. I've done at least 8 big ones. Be aware of the mind virus by comparing yourself to others. Oh, this is a big one. My own self. Oh yeah, I've made a note there, so we'll talk about it. Focus on your path and where you want to go. I only look at yesterday. Who was I yesterday? And sometimes I was much better yesterday because I'm having a bad day today, or some phases the waves going down, and I'm I I am fully acceptant of that. Is that a word? Acceptant. Let's just carry on. You balance your balance and boundaries are more important, and be in a state where you're happy to walk away no matter the perceived loss. Remember, it's a perceived loss. You're not really losing. There was one quote or one meme I made. What's the worst that can happen if you don't try something? Things just go back to how things were. That's it. Don't stick around a hot person if they're toying with you. So he was talking about his own story, which I've just turned it into an example. How to build status from the inside out. And I think this was from a book called Emotional Resilience. Develop emotional control. This is also a telltale sign of those who have high status. Their ability to control themselves in spite of what is going on is a huge piece. I use 3 techniques that I will share a little later to help me get control before I lose it. I was trained to be a whiny little bee, because in the family I came from, that's what you do. You lose control of your emotions and whine and complain and act like a 4-year old in the hopes that whatever the offending instance is will just disappear. And that's the talk I was talking about in the fight, flight, and freeze. This is the angry child, that it will say, God, calm down. All right, you can have your way. And 90% of the time, that doesn't happen. You just get more upset and give the outside circumstance control of your inner state. Remember, your boundary is what you control. And yet, even though it almost never produces the result I was looking for, I did it almost every day for my life for at least 28 years. Now I use the never let them see you sweat mindset that I got from a mentor of mine. So, never let them see you sweat is a very good philosophy. And recently, I've been listening to this guy who talks about how use a pregnant pause before you react. Just hold on to it. Just think about what would be the best move, the next best move to get you one step higher instead of lower. Stuff like that. Never let them see you sweat. Don't put your self esteem in other people's hands. More on self esteem in that link. Uh, yeah, every time you need some knowledge, even if you don't do affirmations, just read stuff like that, just to keep refreshing your mind with these kind of thoughts instead of the victim thoughts. Ooh, cat's awake at this time. Wonder what he's up to. You better not ask to go out. Do not do things for others' validation. And this is it's a tough one because we are always like, you know, um, oops, sorry about that. We are always in groups where we feel that peer pressure or stuff where you know how you get into smoking, drinking, or just one thing, just do it now. Oh, come on, and they keep insisting, and you just stand your ground. Okay. Um, can you still see the screen? Yes. Okay, that's fine. You decided. You decide what you are about. Imagine how much happier you will be at the end of your days. Once you reach that last day of yours and you look back, are you going to think, okay, I did make the right decisions. I stood up for what I believed instead of falling for other people's beliefs. Fail more, fail faster. Your whole life is your dojo. This is so important. I didn't realize the importance of this until so many successful people were saying, collect your failures. And fail faster, fail more is that philosophy where because you keep learning from that failure, that pinch you feel when you failed, when you get up again, you're going to do it. Oh, while I'm at it, imagine yourself as if you're someone who beats yourself a lot and takes a long time to get up, remind yourself that you were born a success. I've made a meme where it's a sperm going to the egg, and out of all those millions, you're the one who made it. You're the one who made it to the egg. Then you were born. And then, do you know how many times you must have fallen down to just try and prop your head up, yourself up, then stand, then you fall again, then you keep trying, keep trying, and then you take a few steps and then fall again, and then you start walking and running and so remind yourself, collect, make a album or something, just collect all your successes and be like, I got those, I did that, I got that checkpoint, I've done this, I've done that. Next point, when you are angry, you can control your emotions before you get reinforcement of external events that control your emotions. Acceptance versus resistance. Example, traffic. Traffic's a big one for me, especially not traffic, but when someone's too close to me, that bothers me. I like my space. I like my personal space. So that bothers me. And uh, if it gets too much, I think I would put a sticker on the rear view mirror or somewhere saying, is this going to matter in 5 minutes? Because, or 20 minutes when I get home or stuff like that. So, is it going to matter? Make a decision to deal with it or accept it. I can deal with it, let them pass, or accept it and just keep going on. And sometimes when I'm in the mood, I have to admit, I like to toy with them. I'll either go slower or when they want to overtake me, I'll go faster, but that's just me being spiteful. Don't know what this cat is up to today. He's got some energy. Mm, traffic, make the decisions. Imagine getting upset for the same thing every day and calculated the added time. Yes, I'm guilty of this. I'm sorry, Paris. I need to do better. Mine being like a garden metaphor. This is so funny because just the way he says certain things, I'm going to try and make it less more friendly for YouTube. So he's like, every day you have to pull weeds. Maybe you go through a time when you pull weeds every day. Then you go through a time when you're hoeing. And after you're done hoeing, it's time to plant your seed. And then he says, pull weeds. Don't pull your weed. Anyway, it's a guy joke, so hopefully it's funny. There is a guy who disidentifies himself he from what he was when he grows. So changes from Ken 1, Ken 2, etc. In my case, I had lots of personas. I had so many different faces, different looks, different styles. So a big one for me was every year, once I moved into a place where I could start growing, every year I would move to a different house share. And that would be a checkpoint or bookmark saying, okay, I've reached here. Now I want to get to the next one. Now I want to get to the next one. And I kept doing that. Create a panic room in your mind where nobody can hurt you and you have resources for yourself. I need to remember this one because this is such a good one. Imagine you have somewhere there, no matter what life is throwing at you, you have this thing. And in my last video, I was talking about how I would also add some kind of intercom so I can talk to my outside, which is inside still, inside here. But from my panic room, I can talk to the outside saying, okay, you're panicking here, do this, do this, do this. Do this. But the panic room is still there with all the resources and stuff I need. That is, I need to remember this one. Paris, make a note, make a note. Don't beat yourself up and let yourself be human. Forgive yourself and move on. And I think that's the end of it. There's just the recommended reading and listening, which is the Prince, already talked about. Built to last, successful habits of visionary companies, good to great, good to great. I don't know why that number two is there. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't like that. And I don't need to know who the author is because it's there. And the book he really recommended was Emotional Resilience. So hopefully this helps. Please let me know if you've used any of these techniques, if you know about Paul Dobransky, because I think his techniques and things have really pretty much, I don't want to make it sound like he totally saved my life, but it has saved me from a lot. So we'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next one.